Good day, class. Today we are going to talk about research in development studies. What is research and why is it important to carry out the research? Research is when we try to find solutions to the problems that we have, is when we try to find answers to one or two things that we might not understand. Then that is when we carry out a research. Then with this research, it's very important after having your topic to come up with a hypothesis. We've done this before, we'll just discuss here and there, but we've covered it. We should have, the first thing that we should have is a topic. After having a topic, we should have a hypothesis. Then the topic should provide opportunities to measure a variety of data. It should not be just straightforward in such a way that you find it difficult to measure various things around that, whatever topic that you've set. And when you come up with a topic, a location should also be there. If you are studying about litter at the Dow Academy, you should write that our research is about the effects of litter at the Dow Academy. It should have the location, and we should be able to cover it within a certain period of time, a short period of time. It should be completed any time available. Then when we carry out a research, there is one thing that is very, very important. When we come up, we now have our topic, our hypothesis, which is the intelligence guess about whatever problem that we have. Then there's this important thing that is called a pilot study. Before we carry out our research, we should find out whether whatever we have planned to do, whatever we want to do in carrying out this research, is it the right thing to do? Or there are so many things that are missing here and there. So what we do is we carry out a trial of the questionnaire. We carry out a trial study. When we carry out a trial study, we might use the equipment that we wanted to use during that research carrying out, or we can use the questionnaire, or whatever we want to use on a few people. You might ask 10 people or 10 students to do that, to carry out your pilot study. Why do we carry out this pilot study? I've seen this question several times, whereby they will ask why you carry out a pilot study. It is done to test the questions. It is done to see if wording is correct. It is done to see if questions can be understood by respondents. It is done to check whether questions are ambiguous or not. That is why it is important to carry out this pilot study. Remember, the hypothesis is an intelligent guess, which is saying that this topic may be the effects of litter at the Dow Academy. Then the hypothesis can be the effects. Standard ones usually fall when this is happening. That is the intelligent guess on that topic that you've given. Then we move on to the important part again, sampling. So you should be able to differentiate between pilot study and sampling. Sampling is when a group is taken, is selected from a larger population. When we are talking about a population, we might be talking about the population of Botswana or the whole of Botswana. We just take 100 people from Botswana, which is the sample of that we are going to carry out our research with. It's not possible to carry out our research with every individual in Botswana, with all the people, everyone in the country. We rather have a sample. And there are various ways that we can use to come up with this sample. We can have with the opportunity sampling, whereby they interview anyone who is willing. These are the various sampling methods. It can be 100 people. The first 100 people, you interview them, or you give your questionnaire to the 100 people. We can have a systematic sampling, that is every 10th person, every nth house, every 20th person, you give your questionnaire. That is called a systematic sample. It is systematic, please don't forget that. Systematic, the good part about it, it will eliminate the risk of bias. There is no way you can have favoritism to say, I need only people from this place or whatsoever. There is no bias involved. There is no favoritism involved. We also have a stratified sampling. This one is an appropriate proportion of males or females, young or old. Appropriate proportion. For example, if you've got more males in the country than females, maybe 60% are males, 40% are females. We are going to have 60% maybe of 100, which is 60 people who are males being interviewed and 40 females being interviewed. So they should be balanced. Then with this stratified, it can be different people, different cultures, different groups. For example, it can be Bakwena, Bakasha, different groups of people. It can be whichever groups that you can think of. That is stratified sampling and being interviewed, the groups. Then stratified would give a fair geographical spread. It gives a fair geographical spread. Then random samplings, the names are picked from a head. You put names on a head, you pick, then those people that you have, the names that you have picked, you interview those. That is random sampling. We also have another sampling method, which is snowball, whereby you give your questionnaire to someone, that person will give to whoever they give to. They continue passing to other people. That is called snowball sampling. So these are the sampling methods. Do not forget this. Chances are very high that they'll be there in the exam because they're always there, these sampling methods. And don't confuse them with pilot study. What are the advantages and disadvantages of systematic and random sample? Advantages of random sample without bias when random numbers are used. The systematic is quicker and easier to do. You just count people 10, you give 10, you give. So it is faster and quicker to use. It is without bias as well. It ensures a good coverage of population. It prevents clusters from being selected. You don't only select one group of people. For example, if friends they are queuing, you cannot take the first 10 who might be friends and you leave the others. You pick the first one, you pick the 10th one, 20th, etc., etc. So the disadvantages of random number table is that sometimes you might even find only the same gender being chosen. Those are the disadvantages that we get from both random and systematic. Systematic, it might be biased. You might get the same kind of people who might answer the same way your research questionnaire. Then we move on to the next one. Then how do we collect data? With data, we've got two different types of data. We've got primary data and secondary data. The primary data is collected in the field by the person. You collect it yourself as you carry out the research. That is primary data. It is the first-hand information that you get. What you go around carrying out your questionnaire, etc., etc., or interviewing people or field study. Examples are questionnaire, interview, field study. Secondary data, it has been obtained by someone and it's now written on a book. Then you use that book in order to do your research. Then with secondary data, examples are journal, interview, e-books, books. All these, they fall under secondary data. This is the data which has been published, obtained from official sources, which cannot, which someone else has obtained or gathered. We also have qualitative data. Quality, it is not measured. That is quality. Quantity, it will be measured. It is based on statistics. So these are the different ways in which you can collect data. We are going to look at each and every. We are going to look at how to carry out an interview questionnaire, etc., etc. Then what are the advantages and disadvantages of primary and secondary data? Advantages of primary, remember we said it's first hand. It is up to date. You know how the data has been collected, what technique was used. It includes data relevant to coursework. It covers your study area. It is collected in format that you want. Then secondary data, it can study temporal changes over a number of years. It is quicker because it has been collected by someone else. You can study a larger area. It includes data that you cannot obtain personally. For example, salaries you can get from the internet, you can get from the journal, wherever. Then disadvantages of primary data, it may include bias. You love something, you write a lot about it. You don't like something, you don't write anything about it. And then the secondary data, the material may be outdated. Author could be, you can be biased in such a way that maybe I'm a female author, I'm writing about females and males. I'll write so many good things about the females than the males. So it might be biased. Those are the problems that we face when we carry out primary and secondary data. They are the advantages and disadvantages of primary and secondary data. Then how do we design a questionnaire? When we design a questionnaire, we should be polite. Don't offend people who are going to fill that questionnaire. And you should also write a biodata in front so that people, they understand why you are carrying out that research. And avoid asking people, how old are you? Personal questions should be avoided at all times. Otherwise, the other people might not even answer the questions because you've asked them about their personal stuff. When you need to find out about people's opinions, it's important to plan a carefully designed questionnaire. Questions should be essential for the inquiry. They should be short, simple, worded, unambiguous, and numbered. You should number. We have got closed questions that we might use, or open questions. Closed questions, they are the questions which can be, I included, these are the questions with given answers. For example, you can say, how are you male or female? What is your gender? Are you male or female? Then you tick the correct answer. Those are closed questions. The open ones, they require the respondent to answer freely. They are not guided. You just answer the way you think. That is open questions. The closed ones, the answers are given. Then you just tick. That is a questionnaire. Then this is the questionnaire that I decided to put down, but we did not write number 3 and others. You write the date, time, location. Don't write what is your name. That one is it. It will make someone not to even answer your questionnaire, because people, they need their privacy. Excuse me, I am a student at the Dow Academy. I'm investigating the effects of aircraft noise around the airport for my development studies coursework. May I ask you a few questions about this? It may take 5 minutes to answer. Do you live in this village or town? Tick yes or no. You just tick it in. Approximately how often does aircraft noise annoy you when you are inside the house? Every day, 4 or 6 times a day, 1 or 3 nights. So this is an example of a questionnaire. It might have questions running up to 10. But it should not be too long. It's an example of a questionnaire. Then we move on to the next. Then the interview. It is important to plan before you start researching, asking right questions at the right time. You must design your questions that you're going to ask. With this interview, it's 2 people will be talking. The person who is interviewing, asking question, then the other one will be answering the question. That is the interview. You plan which questions are you going to ask, and they should be polite questions, and the other will be answering. As they answer, you jot down whatever the person is saying. Then with the interview, also have open-ended questions and closed ones. Open-ended questions, they've got no single correct answer. It encourages people to talk. Open or semi-structured interview, they take longer to sort out. Then we have structured interview or closed questions. Have a limited number of possible answers. These ones are easy to sort, because you can just say, those who say no, they are 100, or they're 0 whatsoever. Then biased questions are questions that lead the person being interviewed to give a particular answer. They encourage you to say something which you might not want to say. Example of a biased question: do you agree that children nowadays are much more healthier than years ago? You might be forced now to say, yes, I agree, because of how the question has been asked. Then what are the advantages of the interview? Information can be obtained from people directly involved firsthand. Flexibility in questions being asked. You can respond to a remark made with a further question. You can explain further and further. Even facial expressions can be shown. Interviews can be carried out with people who are unable to read and write. Information obtained instantly. You do not have to wait for return of questionnaire. Those are the advantages of an information. Even people who cannot read and write, they can answer the questions, because you'll be asking them and they'll be answering. And you can look at the facial expressions. If someone is not happy talking about something, you can tell that this person is not happy, and you take note of that. Then what are the disadvantages or the problems of interview as a research method? It is time consuming, and a lot of time is wasted listening, because the people being interviewed, they often chat and do not answer the questions clearly. They will talk and talk and talk. People may have limited knowledge. They might not even know how to answer some of the questions. People could make remarks which are biased. Statements from different interviewees may be conflicting. People being interviewed may give conflicting statements. You ask them what happened yesterday. Someone might talk about other things, the other talk about other. Some information may not be relevant to the investigation. People will not understand English. They will speak local language. People may not even answer honestly. People may not have time to complete the interview. They might be too busy to answer your interview. Then when we have collected our data, how do we present it? We can present using a scatter graph. We can use a bar graph, a line graph, chloropleth, pie chart. We should know how to draw all this, please. We should know how to draw all these diagrams. Once the data has been represented in a graph or diagram form, it is easier to describe, analyze, and interpret it. Check for relation in scatter graph and locate anomalies. Look for any anomaly and you indicate the anomalies. Then the conclusion, You need to state in your conclusion whether or not the evidence allows you to accept or to reject the hypothesis that we made in the beginning of the research investigation. Data should be quoted to support your decision. If there are several anomalies, it suggests that the hypothesis is partly but not wholly true. Support your conclusion by giving the data. Then after concluding, you recommend. Is it to the Minister of Health or wherever you recommend after doing that? Then what are the difficulties that you are likely to face and the solutions to those difficulties when you are carrying out your research, be it a questionnaire or interviewing, and how to overcome them? You can have a problem of language barrier. You can use a translator. People may not have time to complete a questionnaire. You come back when they finished the work. People may refuse to cooperate. They might be unwilling to answer questions. You offer financial inducement. The fear of hostility or violence or robbery, some people they fear. You reassure them, gain their confidence, put them at ease. Then we also have lack of trust or people suspicious of interviewer, suspicion of intrusive surveying. Inform them privacy will be respected. Inform them the purpose of the research. People may even give wrong information. They may not tell the truth. Back up your answers by observation. Observe, interview even more people. People may be offended by nature of some of the items being asked. Avoid personal details which might be offensive to other people. Then we have an activity here. I'm going to give you a minute to do this activity. Name and describe a method which could be used to choose a representative sample of household for the interviews. Explain why you think this would be a representative. Type of sample, you can write what is the type of sample, descriptive, explanation. 1 minute. Thank you. Type of sample, we have talked about many different types of samples. You can choose any one from those: systematic, stratified, snowball. You choose any one and write type of sample. Descriptive, how is it done? How is it done? Every N for systematic. Random number tape. Then we explain why did you choose that particular sampling method to avoid bias. It represents the population of the country. Thank you very much. Please stay safe, stay home, read your books. Thank you.